Results may vary.
You want hot takes? I'm not going to apologize to Ryan Day. Everything we said about Ryan Day up until the playoffs was true. Oh, not bad. Come on, Kenner. You can do better than that. To be fair, of all the elite quarterbacks in the NFL, Joe Burrow is the least accomplished. Getting better. 1,000,000%. I 1,000,000% believe that the Dayton Flyers are afraid of the Wright State Raiders. That's why they come up with every excuse in the book not to play them. There it is. The hottest take of them all. It's the Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers, live on 1410 ESPN Radio.
And just like that, it is a Monday. Welcome in, everybody. It's the Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Well, we don't have any playoff teams in the state of Ohio. Well, I shouldn't say that. We don't have any NFL playoff teams. It's official. Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals have been eliminated from the playoffs. And we still have an entire month of the season to go. Good times for sports talk hosts. The only thing I can really root for at this point is just complete chaos, which I'm kind of getting that from your Cincinnati Bengals. So I appreciate that. We're going to open up with that in a moment. I put this out on the page earlier today. Even when things are bad in Cincinnati during the Burrow era, they haven't been bad. You can at least say, well, they were bad because Joe Burrow was injured. Joe Burrow, you know what I mean? Like there's always been last year, Joe Burrow was so good that you were still pissed about how bad the defense was, but he was so good that you still kind of overlooked some of the deficiencies because you just felt that no matter what, you have a shot, even with all the deficiencies because of Joe Burrow. This feels different because Joe Burrow, from a skill perspective, is not playing like the quarterback that we are used to seeing him perform like. It seems like he has mentally given up. It seems like this city has worn him out. It seems like the future is uncertain for your darling boy and Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. So that's what I want to open up with. The question I want to throw out right off the bat is this. Of the Joe Burrow era, have we officially reached rock bottom of the Joe Burrow era? Has there ever been a point that has been lower for this organization since Joe Burrow has been drafted than where they are at right now? It felt like it at times last year. This was a team that was losing games they had no business losing because of how many points they put up on the board. They were so good offensively. Joe Burrow was phenomenal last year, would have won an MVP probably. Like if the Bengals beat the Patriots in week 1 last year, Joe Burrow is probably walking away with an MVP. They would have been a 10-win team. They would have been in the playoffs. It would have been hard to, you know what I mean? Or at least it would have, like, maybe Josh Allen comes away with it. I don't know. But I feel like with the numbers Joe Burrow put up, close to 5,000 yards, 45 touchdowns, completing 70% of his passes. The guy was phenomenal. Like, to me, he was so good last year. He would have won an MVP had the defense just been this much better, had they won one more game. So at times it felt like it was rock bottom last year, but then it was like, but we can't be rock bottom because look at what we're getting from our quarterback. Triple crown performance from Jamar Chase last year. T. Higgins, it was actually probably, statistically, he's always been great when he's out there, but it was actually, even though he did miss some games last year, he was ultimately out there a lot last year. So there was a lot of good last year, despite the fact that they missed the playoffs for the second straight year. There was a lot of good last year. They were a 500 team. 2 years ago, Joe Burrow missed a huge chunk of time, but he was also bad to start the season. But again, it wasn't that he was bad. It was that he was still recuperating from an injury, and then he has the pinky injury, and then, then the wrist injury. So Joe Burrow, even when he struggled, you could at least circle and pinpoint the reason as to why. Right now, like when you get to the point to where you can't start explaining some of the issues with your team, that's when you got to start to hit the panic button. And I believe right now is about the time that you should start hitting the panic button in Cincinnati, because Joe Burrow sounds defeated. I was not a fan of his press conference last week, talking about, putting it out there that he's just not happy. He's not having fun anymore. You put something out like that, and then when it irritates fans or upsets fans, then you gaslight those fans and say, I don't know where you guys are getting this from. This wasn't about Cincinnati. I just want to win football games. Here's the deal. I'm so tired of hearing that. Joe Burrow wants to win, as opposed to Josh Allen, who wants to lose. Did Patrick Mahomes just decide that he wanted to lose football games this year? That dude wants to win. Let's pick some of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. Let's go to my team. Dylan Gabriel is very bad. Dylan Gabriel wants to win just as much as Joe Burrow does. So why do we give Joe Burrow a gold plaque for Joe Burrow wants to win? All these guys want to win. That's such a stupid comment. I'm so sick of hearing people say that. Well, I know, look, Joe Burrow, he's going through a little bit of a rough patch right now, but that's the thing, guys. He's a winner. He wants to win. Okay? They all want to win. The worst players on your defense, those dudes want to win. Well, Joe Burrow has some personal things going on in his life. Yes, so do I. So do you. So does everybody. And I don't want to sound insensitive to that, but like we all have things in our lives that if we let it, that would totally derail us from being able to do our everyday jobs. It's part of being an adult. And a lot of us don't make $55 million a year to, go out there and play a kid's game. I'm sorry that I'm not sympathizing with you at this point. I thought it was wrong to go to the media and make it all about him. And here's what you can do. That you could go make it about you if you play well. And Joe Burrow did not. Joe Burrow probably played his worst game as a healthy Bengal yesterday. I think that was, the Bengals get shut out for the first time in the Joe Burrow era. 24-0. The Bengals get shut out. Back-to-back games now where Joe Burrow has thrown multiple interceptions. He completed 25 of his 39 pass attempts, threw for 225 yards, threw 2 interceptions. I think on 4 different occasions they got into enemy territory, like in the, inside, 35 or further. Like, it was a horrendous day at the office for the Bengals yesterday. It was a horrendous day at the office for Joe Burrow yesterday. And for the first time, I saw that Chatterbox and some other outlets were sharing that Jamar Chase was getting very defensive on the sideline because there were fans who were booing Joe Burrow. There were fans who were critical of Joe Burrow. And I don't know why I see Bengals media doing this. If there's one player you're not allowed to criticize, it's Joe Burrow. I completely disagree with that. Because my statement on Joe Burrow for years has always been, for a guy that is not very protected on the field, because that offensive line has been very poorly constructed, and although it's been better as of late, still not great. I think he's probably the most protected quarterback off the field. Joe Burrow can do no wrong. When Joe Burrow does wrong, what do you guys say? Well, what now? Because of that, he has to be perfect. Guess what? Josh Allen doesn't have a whole lot of great pass catchers on that team. Josh Allen has to be perfect as well, which is why it was so important that as he lost Stephon Diggs, as he lost elite pass catchers, that they really had to hone in on limiting his turnovers. Josh Allen, it became so important that because the margin for error is so slim, they have to lean into the run game and stop turning it over through the air. Josh Allen stopped turning it over through the air. They have a strong run game. They win a lot of football games. No one said, well, Josh Allen, Josh Allen, I know he had a bad game. He turned it over a lot, but my God, Josh Allen wants to win. No, Josh Allen needed to clean his game up. Lamar Jackson, as great as he has been throughout his career, when he doesn't play well, he gets criticized. No one says, well, Lamar Jackson, you can't expect him to be perfect. He can't be perfect every night. No one's really saying you have to be perfect, but when you're making the amount of money that these dudes get, we're kind of holding you to the standard that we hold every other quarterback in the league to as well. I feel like this is rock bottom for the Bengals during the Joe Burrow era. And it doesn't mean that you can't climb and dig yourself out of it. It doesn't mean that, that there's no way that, you can bounce back from this. There are, I've said this before. I actually don't think this is a horrible thing that they've hit rock bottom, because I believe that they have. I believe this team, for the first time in the Joe Burrow era, has hit rock bottom. They have had horrendous things happen during the Joe Burrow era, the multiple horrendous injuries, right? Like the defense being historically bad, draft picks just not panning out and failing in the draft left and right. There's a lot of talking points as to what has gone wrong in Cincinnati during the Joe Burrow era, but at no point did I feel like this team has hit rock bottom. Even when the most horrific things happen, good things usually happen. Oh, you get sacked 70 times in a season. The season ends with the 1 possession loss in the Super Bowl. Oh, your defense is horrifically bad. Yeah, but you still finish 9-8, just one game out of the playoffs. And then you put yourself in position where you do the mental gymnastics. If only we would have won one more game, if we'd have beat the Patriots, if we would have Right now, there's none of that. There's no mental gymnastics with this. This is bad. The offense is bad. Joe Burrow has not been good. The defense is horrific. You can't run the football. The offensive line, and I had Bengals fans call me last week. Well, if you cherry pick a couple of games here and there, they've actually looked much better running the football. Stop. When will the Bengals be a consistent force on the ground through an entire season? Well, when will they be a consistent force defensively? You know what I mean? When will Joe Burrow consistently be healthy? Like, it's all about consistency with this Bengals team. It's easy to go and cherry pick a couple of, good games and sandwich them together and say, hey, look, it's shiny. Look at this new shiny little distraction over here. Bottom line is this team's not good. So to me, yes, this team has hit rock bottom. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think at the end of the day, the only way that change is actually going to be forced upon this organization is for them to hit rock bottom. And I think that they have. You have a generational quarterback in Joe Burrow, and you're about to miss the playoffs. Not about to. You have officially now missed the playoffs for the third straight year. Joe Burrow has been in the league. This is year number 6. Joe Burrow in 6 years as an NFL quarterback. Despite all of his individual heroics and individual numbers, he is the number that surprises me the most. He's only been in the playoffs twice. This is rock bottom. There is no silver lining after this season. Well, if we do this or we do that. No. He's bad. He's been bad the last couple of weeks, especially when they've needed him to be his best. His ego got in the way, and he had to force himself back from injury a month early. His ego has gotten in the way of this team way too many times. His ego got in the way of the roster construction. His ego got in the way of coming back too soon, when if you would have stuck with Joe Flacco, I think there would have been more consistency instead of forcing him to come back before he's officially ready. Joe Burrow's ego needed a thumping, and that's why he's sad right now. Oh, Joe Burrow wants to win. Yeah, they all do. Joe Burrow's not a unicorn because he wants to win. Joe Burrow is just like every other athlete, good or bad. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. I'm not ignoring your calls. I'm seeing them come in. Now that I have time at this break, I can get to your calls. 937-518-1410. I want to hear from you. 937-518-1410 is the number to call and jump in on the conversation. Is this rock bottom? Is the Joe Burrow era? Have we officially reached rock bottom during this Joe Burrow era? Have we been there before? I don't think we have. I think that this is officially rock bottom for this Bengals organization. From Joe Burrow's attitude to the whiny press conferences to the poor performance on the field, and now to the Bengals' third straight season missing the playoffs. Has this organization officially hit rock bottom during the Joe Burrow era? Let's discuss. 937-518-1410. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. We will be right back.
World Cup 2026. Bank of America and in partnership with Visa. Terms apply. Rights reserved.
Percent chance of overreactions, heated debates, and a slight drizzle of hope for Bengals fans. Sorry, guy with Burrow jersey. You're listening to the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show on 1410 ESPN Radio and on the stream at wingam.com.
Justin Kinner back with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio, 937-518-1410, the number to call and jump in on the conversation. 1410 ESPN Radio, Dayton's radio home for Wright State basketball. Tomorrow night, Miami of Ohio out of the MAC, they're going to be in town at the Nutter Center. Miami of Ohio's 10-0. If they win tomorrow night, they'll be 11-0 for the first time in program history. And Wright State, who's 3-1 at home this season, looking to get a huge win, a huge opportunity for them tomorrow with an undefeated, really good Miami team coming to town. And we're giving away tickets. So if you head to ESPN Dayton's Facebook page, okay, and you leave us your email. Right now we're getting a new text lines and all this stuff, so we can't do the text thing right now. But if you go to ESPN Dayton's Facebook page and just text us and just message us your email, we will get tickets out to as many of you as we can while the supply of tickets that we have last. So head to ESPN Dayton's Facebook page, send us a direct, send us a DM with your email, and we will email those tickets to you. So go to ESPN Dayton's Facebook page right now and take care of that, and we'll take care of you as far as that goes. Clint Sargent, head coach for the Raiders, he's going to join us coming up here in about 15 minutes. So keep that in mind. We have Clint Sargent hanging out with us coming up here shortly as well. Is the Joe Burrow era, have we officially reached rock bottom? Has it officially reached rock bottom in the Joe Burrow era? I believe that it has. I believe for the entire time that Joe Burrow has been in Cincinnati, I've had this debate with many people that I think that there are more Joe Burrow fans than Bengal fans. I don't think that there's a lot of Bengals fans out there. I think that there are a ton of Joe Burrow fans out there. And I don't think that's a hot take. I don't think I'm stirring the pot with that. There has been a cult-like following, not for the Bengals, but for Joe Burrow. When Joe Burrow doesn't succeed the way other quarterbacks succeed, we line up to make excuses for Joe Burrow. We blame the defense. We blame play calling, even though it's the same play calling that has put Burrow in position to be as dominant as he is statistically. That same play calling is also why he's unsuccessful as well. You can't have it both ways. That doesn't make any sense to me. It's constant, it's always the ownership. It's always the, Duke Tobin, the GM. It's always the Zach Taylor. It's always the defense. It's always the offensive line. It's always something. Lamar Jackson, if the Ravens don't succeed, it's on Lamar Jackson. And you could say, well, yeah, he has more weapons. Yes, he has an organization that fills a lot more holes when it comes to the roster needs, but it's also a guy that would kill to play with the likes of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, a luxury that no quarterback in the NFL has except Mr. Burrow. Yeah, but, Joe Burrow also doesn't get anything help on defense. Then maybe Joe Burrow should have spent more time using his voice during the Super Bowl last year and during these moments where he does speak out to the media to be clamoring about what they need to do to be better up front on the offensive line, to be better on defense, better run game, and don't cherry pick stats for Chase Brown to try to convince me that he's Derrick Henry, because he's not. A lot of the Bengals issues are Bengals issues that have existed pre-Joe Burrow, but a lot of the current issues that exist is because of Joe Burrow. And you guys don't want to hear that, that's fine. But I do feel good today because a lot of you are starting to see it the way I do or have for a while. Joe Burrow has been a me player for quite some time. And Joe Burrow made it about him when he decided he wanted to come back a month early, and clearly he's not ready. Now, if he would have come back and he looked great and he looked as efficient as he did before, then fine. But he doesn't look that, because again, Joe Burrow, when he wants something, he gets it. If he wants to come back now a month premature, he's going to get it. If a team that was historically bad defensively last year and needed those holes to be addressed, but Joe Burrow wanted more offensive help, the front office ignored what the team needed and gave what Joe Burrow wanted and needed. It's all about Joe Burrow, what he needs. And now Joe Burrow is talking about the mental health side of things. Now he's coming and trying to say that he's just not happy anymore. And I'm not mocking mental health even in the slightest. But I do think that by putting that shield up, it's protecting him from anybody coming at him and criticizing the fact that well, he just isn't happy playing the game anymore. And I think that's a weird slope. That's a weird direction to go in when it comes to this, because I risk sounding insensitive by saying, hey, I know you said you have things going on. Not that I need to know what's going on, but like he always gives just enough detail to make you the bad guy. Hey, why are you struggling? You seem disconnected right now. What's going on? Oh, I just have a lot going on the field or off the field. Oh, both. Oh, what are those off the field things? Oh, you need to mind your business. All right. You're right. We do need to mind our business, but don't bring us in just to push us out. A week ago so 2 weeks ago, you were happy. Everything was great. Everything was fine. You beat the Ravens on Thanksgiving night. You're smiling. Then you lose the next two, and now all of a sudden you're not happy playing football anymore. You know what I mean? Like, guys, I'm not wrong for pointing some of these things out. It's very weird. It's strange to me, and I think it's selfish on his end. Of course, I don't need him to tell me he's not happy because they're losing. The fans aren't happy either because you're losing. You're not superior to your fan base because you don't like losing when your fan base doesn't like losing either. This isn't difficult. I've had a problem with the Burrow approach for a while, and now it's starting to kind of boil over. And no one's going to tell me I'm right, and I don't need to be told I'm right. I just know I'm right, and I've been right for quite some time. The Joe Burrow approach, the Cincinnati Burrows, when they become the Cincinnati Bengals, that's when Joe Burrow will accomplish things like what Lamar Jackson has, multiple MVPs. When Joe Burrow approaches it as the Cincinnati Bengals and not the Cincinnati Burrows, okay, that's when he will win MVPs. That's when he will be in the playoffs every year. And, and some of this isn't on him because, to be fair, if Patrick Mahomes was given the power that Burrow has with his organization, Mahomes would probably be the same way. Same thing with Josh Allen and Lamar. I maybe shouldn't be as aggressive about putting all this on Burrow. It is on the Bengals, who are a poorly run organization, because they let Joe Burrow make those calls. I'm pretty sure if the Chiefs knocked on Patrick Mahomes' door a few years ago and said, hey, do you care if we trade Tyreek Hill away? Do you think Patrick Mahomes would have said, that's fine because I have Travis Kelce? No, he would have said, I want Travis Kelce and I want to keep Tyreek Hill. But the Chiefs said, we're going to keep you with the best tight end at the time in football, and we're going to move your number one wide receiver and save $30 million and put that into the defense, and we're going to be the Kansas City Chiefs and not the Kansas City Mahomes. Hey, we could take this $40 million that we gave Jamar Chase and give you T. Higgins for 28 to 30 and use that 10 to 12 million extra to fix the Bengals defense so that we could become the Cincinnati Bengals. But no, you need Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, so now we become the Cincinnati Burrows. When this team becomes the Cincinnati Bengals and not the Cincinnati Burrows, that's when this team will be consistent like the Bills, consistent like the Ravens, consistent like the Chiefs. And I get it. The Chiefs just missed the playoffs. But it's the first time in Patrick Mahomes' career that he's not going to be in the AFC Championship game, much less the playoffs at this point. Joe Burrow has missed the playoffs for the fourth time in 6 years. The Cincinnati Burrows. They need to get a head coach that is about the Bengals as a whole, not the player as an individual. I was listening to a show earlier today that was talking about what could potentially be coming next as the head coach. And they were bringing up, Joe Brady and some of these other names and how great that would be for Joe Burrow. If the Bengals could go get, Joe Brady, who he has a connection with going back to the college days, how awesome that would be for Joe Burrow. And I said, no. Joe Brady might be awesome for Joe Burrow, but how about you go get a coach that would be good for the team as a whole? And maybe Brady would be a good coach for the team as a whole, but you better make sure that that's the case. You have to get a coach that is going to be best for the team. You have to get players that are best for the team and not best for the individual. This isn't a hot take, and I'm not wrong on this. 3 straight years of missing the playoffs is unacceptable when you have a talent like Joe Burrow. It really is. I'm not hating. I'm not stirring the pot. It is what it is. And I've actually been surprised at how many people have technically agreed with my takes on this as of late, because while I used to be labeled as a hater, some of you are starting to see the light a little bit. By the way, I don't like the fact, and I will say this, because you guys know I'm not a big Burrow guy when it comes to this stuff. I do think it's a little silly to boo Joe Burrow, though, okay? There were guys at the Bengals game yesterday who were ripping Burrow, and Jamar Chase was coming to the defense of his quarterback, which I like. Defend your quarterback. I also don't like fans ripping Joe Burrow for this. I think it's okay to criticize Joe Burrow and question Joe Burrow. That's what I'm doing. I question his selfishness when it came to those press conferences last year. I question his selfishness with his approach to the media last week, making it about him. I question his decision-making coming back a month earlier when he didn't have to. And you guys said I was wrong then too, and you guys are wrong, not me. I said a few weeks ago, Joe Burrow coming back doesn't fix anything. Joe Burrow coming back, he doesn't provide anything that technically Joe Flacco wasn't providing this team. Not that you take Flacco over Burrow, but if Burrow's not ready to come back, why rush him back? Flacco was doing just fine with the same limitations. And they may have still lost even with Joe Flacco at quarterback, but at least you would have gotten a better version of a quarterback at this time as opposed to a quarterback that's trying to force his way back from an injury. Too many selfish decisions made by Burrow because the Bengals have allowed it. You can question those selfish motives. You don't have to be a fan of them because I sure as heck am not. But you don't need to boo Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, once this team becomes the Cincinnati Bengals and not the Cincinnati Burrows, Joe Burrow is going to be better than Josh Allen. He's going to be better than Lamar and will probably be on an even track with Patrick Mahomes because that's where it was trending. When they were more balanced, when they had Joe Mixon in a better run game, when they had an average defense, the year they went to the Super Bowl and back-to-back AFC championship games, that defense wasn't elite, but it was average. That's all we've said that he's needed. They don't have to be elite anywhere else. They just have to be above average, above bad at this point. But Joe Burrow wanted 2 number 1 wide receivers. He got them. He wanted Mike Gesicki back. They gave him Gesicki, and they got him Noah Fant. You know, Joe Burrow should have been screaming, hey, I know we passed the ball a lot, but we need a Derrick Henry 2 years ago. People that I was ridiculous 2 years ago when Derrick Henry was a free agent, I said, you want the Bengals to go to that next level? Go get a Derrick Henry. Everyone mocked and laughed at. Well, Lamar already runs the ball. Why do you need another dominant running back? Lamar needs a Jamar Chase or T. Higgins. Joe Burrow needs an elite. How much better would the team be if they can actually run the football? Oh, but Chase Brown, oh, yes, he has a couple nice plays here and there, but when is he going to be that consistent force? And by the way, this isn't about this season. I get that Derrick Henry is not the running back that he was even a year ago, which is crazy when you think about the dominant week 1 that he had, but it's just about the approach. Stop letting Burrow be the GM. Let Burrow be the quarterback and let someone with brains and the set of cojones to stand up to Burrow say, you play quarterback, we'll run this football team. Because until then, it's going to be the same thing over and over and over. Trade T. Higgins, trade Jamar Chase, not both of them, but one of these big pieces has to move for this team to get it correct. Gary Peck on the Justin Kinder Show Facebook page says, Taylor allowing Burrow to come back early is going to cost Zach his job. If Joe Burrow doesn't come back, Zach had an excuse. He has none now. You are 100% correct on your take. That's a side to my take I didn't even consider, but you're right. Zach Taylor should have told Joe Burrow, I know that you feel good, but we can't risk you further injuring yourself, and we're getting good production at quarterback right now. It's not that we don't need you, but we don't need you to come back right now. And look at Patrick Mahomes, who just got hurt last week. And guys, guess what? Here's the other layer to this. Joe Burrow has talked himself into a corner because a lot of you Bengals fans were saying the Bengals should not, the Bengals are going to make the playoffs. They should shut Joe Burrow down. A lot of you said that. I understood your reasoning. I would not have shut him down. I just wouldn't have rushed him back, if that makes sense. But Joe Burrow has backed himself in a corner because Joe Burrow kind of looked at you guys like you were ridiculous because Joe Burrow is just the ultimate competitor like Michael Jordan, and he loves this game. And if he could play, he's going to play, and there's no way that he would just choose not to play, making the money remember, he says Joe Burrow is very good at saying all the right things. Here's the problem. Joe Burrow said that when it was convenient. Oh, we're playing better. Now I can get everyone to love me because I'm going to say the right things. Oh, no, I'm paid a lot of money to play this game, and I'm healthy. Why would I not play? It's about going out there and getting better each week. Joe Burrow's not having fun right now because they're losing, and Joe Burrow's stuck between a rock and a hard place because now he's risking coming out and saying he's going to shut it down for the final couple weeks of the season and sound like a hypocrite because of what he said a few weeks ago. or he's going to continue to play moving forward and risk hurting himself like Patrick Mahomes. Not only does the Chiefs, by the way, the Chiefs missed the playoffs for the first time in the Patrick Mahomes era, and they've lost Patrick Mahomes, who could be out for 9 to 11 months. So now Patrick Mahomes' injury isn't just catastrophic for 2025, it's catastrophic for 2026. And the Bengals, who have missed the playoffs 4 of the 6 years that Joe Burrow has been here, now Joe Burrow's ego, does he go out there and play the final couple weeks when he doesn't need to? But he put on a good show and was reading all the after-school special talking points about why he's your American hero and, you know, take your vitamins and drink your milk and blah, 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 blah. Or does he do what's best for the team and all that? We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But I'm very curious to see the direction that this goes. I don't know what to make of the comments of Joe Burrow when it comes to him not being happy. You know, when he said he wasn't happy and he needs to be having fun again, and then you correspond that with the fact that he played so poorly, it's tough to not be thinking about where his head is at. You know, I think he's he could be an LA Ram next year. I think Joe Burrow is Los Angeles. He looks like Los Angeles. I think he would be great with the Rams. I think he'd be great in the Sean McVay system. He'd be playing for an organization that is super aggressive and would probably give up the farm to get him. They gave up the farm to get Matthew Stafford. Imagine what they'd give up to go get a Joe Burrow. Man, I don't think that's the direction that this is going. But you have to think. You have to put a lot of faith into your front office to get it all right. All right, I know we got to switch gears here. We're going to talk with Clint Sargent, head coach of the Wright State Raiders. When we come back, we're going to switch gears to some college basketball. We do have the Wright State Coaches Show coming up tonight, so you'll hear from Clint Sargent coming up here in a few minutes, and then you'll hear from him later tonight as well. Tomorrow night, Miami of Ohio out of the MAC. They're 10-0. They're coming to Dayton. They're going to be at the Nutter Center tomorrow night. Okay, we got tickets. Head to ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Send us your email. While supplies last, we'll continue to feed you tickets. So make sure you go take advantage of that right now. The ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Send us your email, and we'll send you a pair of tickets. Okay, so go do that right now. We'll step away for a few. Clint Sargent, head coach of the Raiders. He joins us ahead of the Wright State's matchup with Miami of Ohio tomorrow. Big opportunity as the undefeated Miami of Ohio Red House come to town. We'll be right back. It's the Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers.
Polk King Bowling Centers are your connection for family fun or a great night out with friends this holiday season. Everyone loves to bowl, so plan your family holiday get-together at Polk King Bowling Centers. Bowling offers an exciting family experience. Look a good time.
Yeah, of course Kinner relates to Shador Sanders. He hasn't taken any first-team reps either. The Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show on 1410 ESPN Radio and on the stream at wingam.com.
All right, everybody, we welcome you back. I'm Justin Kinner, the Justin Kinner Show, presented by our friends over at Frickers. And Spirits, we'll get back into the NFL side of things coming up here in just a moment. I mean, it kind of stinks. Look, we have a month left of the season, and, well, our NFL teams here in the state of Ohio both have officially been eliminated from the playoffs. We opened up. Joe Burrow's been in Cincinnati for quite some time now. Is this officially rock bottom? Has the Bengals, has the Joe Burrow era officially reached rock bottom? We'll get back to your calls coming up here in just a little bit. Bengals, former Bengals MVP Ken Anderson, he's going to hang out with us on the show this week. I'm excited about that. Willie Anderson also going to hop on with us because I got to talk to them about their view just on the outside looking in. What is their takeaway as far as how all this is kind of being handled by the Bengals front office, Joe Burrow, and his attitude as of late? We'll get into all that later on this week. I want to switch gears to college basketball. As you know, 1410 ESPN Radio, Dayton's radio home for Wright State basketball. Wright State, we got the coaches show coming up later on tonight with Clint Sargent and company. We'll talk about that more in a moment. But the Raiders welcoming in a tough task tomorrow night. Undefeated, 10-0, Miami of Ohio, Wright State at the Nutter Center. Excited about that. We're going to be giving away tickets all day today and tomorrow, and we'll have more on that in a moment. But joining us now, head coach for the Wright State Raiders, Clint Sargent, who's very busy right now, giving us some time, and we appreciate that. Coach Sargent, appreciate you. How are you? Welcome.
Justin, doing well. I really appreciate you having me and looking forward to the talk.
Hey, look, when the Bengals are looking for a new coach, I know you're a college basketball coach, but are you going to throw your name into the hat? Are you going to be an NFL coach coming up? Are you an NFL fan? Who's your NFL team?
Man, being here in the area for 10 years, my family and I, like raising young kids, we kind of rode the bandwagon with the Bengals. So we're in that sweet spot of like, we care, we're into it, we're cheering, like we're paying attention, but we're also just not like diehards. It's ruining our days if we lose. So we're kind of in that sweet spot.
No, I'm with you. I'm not from here either. I actually moved to Ohio, when I was about 12, 13 years old. So I didn't really grow up a Browns or a Bengals fan, but I didn't join a bandwagon. I joined the Browns fandom. I think I get more credit for that. I think, I have to have more passion than you do for your team, if that's the case. So
yeah, I think you're right.
But hey, I appreciate your time again. I know we're going to hear more from you coming up later on tonight. It's the first coaches show of the season, but we're getting excited. We're getting hyped up again. The regular season, I should say the regular season, the non-con is wrapping up, throughout this week and into next Monday. But you guys have a big one tomorrow, Miami of Ohio, who you guys beat at their place last year. It's the third to last non-con game before you turn your attention on to conference play. But this is quite an opponent, quite an opportunity, an undefeated Miami of Ohio team coming into the Nutter Center tomorrow night.
Yeah, there's a lot of different layers to this. First from our standpoint, like you had mentioned, just kind of where we're at in our season, you want to be growing and playing and feel like you're playing your best basketball when you hit into the heart of your league season, which for us will be after Christmas. There's obviously the Miami storyline of their season. I think they have the third longest winning streak in the country, being 10-0, and obviously they're right down the road and very familiar, and just a ton of respect for Coach Steele and kind of his career, at Xavier. And then you get another opportunity at Miami, and then now he's in his fourth year, and he's got a team I know he loves, and I think they're fifth in the country in continuity. So to kind of build a program in this era is very hard to do. I applaud him and their administration to be able to keep a large chunk of their team together. And I think you can kind of see that continuity here really giving them an advantage through their non-conference. For us, I really love my team. I love what we're becoming here at Wright State. I think defensively, I like where we're headed. I think for us to win close games, we need to let that identity win us games and be better later in games defensively. So all those things for a coach are we get another opportunity to step into it tomorrow night. And when you really love your team and you really love your staff, and you just kind of been grown, which I have, through excruciating close losses. Like, you just can't wait to step into another opportunity when you feel like analytically, defensively, you're trending in the right spot, but the main analytical point is to win. And so you're trying to kind of stay just in process space, but also know, you play games to win games. And we're looking for the opportunity Tuesday night.
Like, obviously you put a non-con schedule together. You can't guarantee, you can't put teams on there that you guarantee you can win, of course, but you want to find that balance of not wanting to just completely kill your team's confidence, but also putting enough challenges on there to prep you for what the ultimate goal is, which is to win your league, of course, and finding that balance. And I think, when you look at your guys' schedule, obviously, playing a lot of MAC teams on there, a lot of teams that have prepared you guys for the league, which it's full-on league play starting here in about a week. But how do you feel about how your non-con specifically, Coach, has kind of helped prep you for that? I know you still have 3 non-con games remaining, 3 really good teams on top of that, but how do you feel like up to this point, your non-con that you and your staff put together has kind of prepared you for what the ultimate goal is whenever we turn to conference play?
I've been pleased with it. We try, everybody's different, but we try to stress to our players, just kind of first as men, you're kind of called to run into fights and lead in that way. And I don't ever want to schedule in a way that would deem that I'm hiding or I'm playing, but exactly what you said, you want to have a balance. So I think our Ken Palm rating right now is right around 100 in terms of a non-conference strength of schedule. So I think from that standpoint, again, like you said, you never quite know where that's going to fall, but I've been happy from that standpoint. Results wise, I'm not happy with the results. Now, kind of the process of what it's been internally for us to have some tough losses and what I think is we're growing through them. I see that in a very, very real way. So that's been pleasing. But again, it's one of those deals, like, you're trying to stay true to the process and kind of just go with the flow of a tough loss or a great win and not get too high and not get too low. But I just feel like breakthroughs coming for our program. But it's going to take us just knuckling out some tough, close wins. So I think our group's expecting. I think they're confident. I think we have good identity in areas where you can do that defensively. We're disruptive. We just need to close. So all in all, I'm pleased, but I know we need to keep going.
Coach, what is that too? Like, when you talk about like those, when you start, playing these close games, you get into those crunch moments. Like, is that a concern that it becomes like mental at a certain point? Because it's not you guys aren't thinking about close games when you're kind of winning some, losing some. But like, do you feel like that's like a concern that, oh man, like, hey, it's nothing that we're doing wrong. It's not the players, it's not coaching, it's not. But sometimes that mental side can kind of take over in these close games down the stretch of, oh man, we have a turnover or we miss an easy basket, miss a free throw. Oh, here we go again, right? Like, how do you manage that with your guys?
Right. Yeah, and I felt both. As a coach, as a player, I know when it's like, well, this is getting met. I haven't felt that at all with this team. I think this group is playing to win. I think they're fearless. We're just learning the discipline and how to close games defensively. I put the marker. Typically teams that win close game, they can win with their defense. And we all know Wright State, we haven't been good defensively. So you're just playing. You're playing just with fire with that, and typically you come out on the wrong end when you don't have a backbone, and that's what it's a call to for us. And when I look at the close losses defensively, last 4 minutes, that's where we break. So again, I take in building confidence with our team and our staff and myself, knowing our defensive numbers are trending in the right direction. I think this team can be the best defensive team in our league. And that's not just talk at this point. There's enough data to prove that. And we just need to buy into that, who we are, our identity in those moments, and breakthrough will come. And I fully expect that to happen.
Clint Sargent, head coach for the Wright State Raiders, joining us now. Wright State welcoming in Miami of Ohio tomorrow night. A tough opponent, but a great opportunity as well with them, yet to face a loss and to be able to have them come to your home floor, going to be huge. You talked about some of those defensive metrics, Coach. One of my favorite players to watch to this point has been TJ Birch. And again, not what, obviously you're going to have your starters, you're going to have your main guys. Birch at times comes off the bench, but you watch him play and 3 steals a game. And I know people don't really track deflections, and maybe you as a coaching staff do, but I would have to think that there's no one close in this league that's going to, come to the amount of deflections that this kid gets. I haven't seen the kid as far as being able to guard the ball on the ball the way he does. I mean, he's such a disruptor at the top of the key. I just talk about TJ Birch and how he kind of helps set the tone at the defensive side, especially with some of the size you guys have back on the block.
Yeah, absolutely. You nailed it, Justin. He's fearless. He's a fighter. He really, when you can have that kind of head of the snake in your defense, it kind of just sets the tone for everybody else versus being passive and careful. He's the exact opposite, which is exactly what I want. And not only him, but we have a number of guys that are going from a freshman, sophomore, and kind of how we built the team. Everybody's trying to get old, stay old, which is no doubtly true. But we felt like, man, if we could get a couple guys that are at a unique spot in their career where they have some experience, but they have a skill set that's still moldable, in a mind and a heart that's still moldable, that, man, he could really be something. And that's kind of what he's turned into. And it's really shaping how he views himself confidently and impact winning, and very proud of him and just kind of how he's grown. And I think there's a lot still there for him offensively. I think he's just now scratching the surface as a player, and that's the best part as a coach, to kind of come alongside those stories. And I know everybody talks about the portal and just kind of how you only get limited time, but man, if you find the right kids, whether it's a year or 4 years, it's special and they'll grow, and that's what's happening for TJ.
Yeah, and it's it's interesting because obviously when you and your staff are out, hitting the portal, you're talking to them as obviously they're not just looking at a box score. You're not looking at their stats. We'll see, oh, they signed TJ Birch, and we'll see, okay, not a lot of big stats because he didn't get a lot of minutes at the previous school. Oh, who's this kid? We're seeing who this kid is, and it's pretty unbelievable. And you have a good balance of obviously the portal players, but something we don't talk enough about too is, the guys you go get from the high school ranks as well. And I think you have one of the best freshmen in the country right now in Michael Cooper. Kid's been unbelievable. And that's all I hear people talk about. And, people want to make a big deal about, what the future holds. Here's the future I care about. The next 3 months, 4 months for this kid, as I'm sure you are as well. The kid's special. Yeah. You know it. The kid's, the ball just looks different coming out of his hand. The shot looks different. And just the whole perception of the kid's unbelievable for a true freshman.
Yeah, he is. And I agree. Everybody wants to get ahead of themselves with what the future holds for Michael, and I get it. But man, how about just kind of enjoying each day and then diving into each day, and that's kind of our job as coaches and men, just to kind of protect the daily habits of our players and be honest with them so we can continue to grow and get better. Because like you said, I have great expectation for this team the next 3.5 months here. And Michael's going to be a big part of it. He won a state title at Jeffersonville over in Indiana, and been very well coached and very heady and well beyond his years, just kind of handling the moment. So, and he's only going to get better. And I feel that way about a number of our players, kind of with some of the areas where we have some youth. And I just think we're going to continue to grow and be connected and learn how to win with our defense and our identity. And once you do it a few times, then you really gain confidence. And I think when that happens, it's going to take off.
All right, good stuff. Clint Sargent, head coach of the Wright State Raiders, awesome enough to give us some time. You'll hear more from Coach coming up later on tonight. Chris Collins, Jim Brown will have Clint Sargent on for the Wright State Coaches Show coming up from 6 to 7 right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. And then Wright State welcomes in Miami of Ohio tomorrow, and we'll have that for you here on 1410 ESPN Radio as well. But we hope you're going to be at the game tomorrow, and we'll be giving out tickets for that one as well. Going to be a fun atmosphere tomorrow night, and we're looking forward to that. Coach Sargent, appreciate you as always. We'll talk soon, and we'll hear from you later tonight.
Thanks, Justin.
All right, more of the Justin Kinner Show when we come back.